Hi, Michael Monteforte here for another Monteforte Law webinar. Today we're going to be talking about trusts, specifically what your estate planning attorney might not be telling you about trusts. So other lawyers aren't crazy about this webinar, but I think it's important information for people to have, especially for people that have trusts already and maybe think they have one thing and really they have something else. So we're going to be talking about 5 different types of trusts, why you might want them, why you might need them, and why it's important to look at any trusts that you have currently. So first of all, if you don't know me or you've never seen one of my webinars before, my name is Michael Monteforte. I am an estate planning and elder law attorney in Wilmington, Mass. I am a solo attorney. I'm the only attorney at my firm, and then I've got 4 employees on staff. I've got a great team that works with me, but I am the only attorney, so all the work at our firm, if you hire us, it's done by me. You deal with me. I thought that this would be a good time to talk about trust because we are still in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Here in Massachusetts, we have not yet opened up the state for non-essential businesses. So lots of people are still stuck at home in quarantine. And I thought that, yeah, that would be a great time for you to pull out any documents you have and take a look at them. I've had a law firm here in Wilmington for the past 14 years. I'm the author of 2 books on estate planning and elder law, everything from estate planning basics to more sophisticated information, as well as applying for Medicaid long-term care coverage. Both of my books are available for free on our website, both in download and in hard copy. So if you are looking for a copy of either of my books or both of them, just reach out to us and we will send them to you at no charge. So let's talk about trusts and why we might need a trust. All right. Not everyone does need a trust. I never recommend a trust to a client unless there is going to be a real benefit to them for having that trust. I never recommend it just to recommend it. It doesn't make sense. For people that need one, trust can be a great thing and really do a lot for you as far as providing benefits like avoiding probate or avoiding estate taxes. But again, I only recommend a trust to a client if it's really going to provide a benefit to that client. And we look at these things on a case-by-case basis. As far as the types of trusts, there are literally hundreds of different types of trusts. We're going to focus today on 5 specific types that we utilize, and I'm going to talk a little bit about each and why you might need one, why it might be a good thing for you. So the 5 types of trusts are family trusts, special needs trusts, credit shelter trusts, life insurance trusts, and Medicaid trusts. So let's talk a little bit about those in detail. A family trust is used when you are attempting to put something together for beneficiaries. If you're married, you have kids, that's a time when a family trust might be utilized, especially when the kids are minors. We look at it as being very problematic to leave someone that might be 18 or even 21 a substantial sum of money because we worry about at that age that they might not know how to handle it properly and are really a risk of blowing all the money at once. So in those types of cases, we set up family trusts where we put someone else in charge of the money to be used for the benefit of the beneficiaries, but we've got someone else controlling the purse strings. So just for example, I have 2 children. My daughter is 16. My son is almost 15. So they're both minors. They're too young to inherit any money directly. So instead of having money attempt to go to them in such a way when my wife and I were to pass away, we funnel it through a family trust. And that way we put somebody else in charge. This person doles out the money as he or she sees fit. That person is called a trustee. The trustee is the person that signs for the trust and typically is in charge of the money that's associated with the trust. They make sure that the money is used for their children's benefit, but they don't give the kids all of the money at once because that can be a disaster. So that's a little bit about family trusts. The next type of trust is what we call either a special needs trust or a supplemental needs trust. And we use these trusts if you have a beneficiary that either has a disability or is receiving some sort of government benefit, such as assistance with their rent. Lots of government benefits are what we call asset-based, meaning they have asset limits in order for you to qualify for the benefit. And if you have too much money, you can't qualify. So we utilize one of these trusts, supplemental needs trust or a special needs trust, as a way of putting money aside for that beneficiary, but it's not directly in their names. We've got somebody else in charge of it, and a trustee who controls those funds, and we make sure that those funds are used for the benefit of the disabled beneficiary, but they're used in such a way that they don't cause that beneficiary to lose their benefits. The third type of trust that I want to talk about is called a credit shelter trust. And this trust is used primarily to protect you from high estate tax bills. Now, there is a federal estate tax. However, the federal estate tax limit is very high. It's up over $11 million. But here in Massachusetts, we've got a much lower limit. Our limit in Massachusetts is $1 million. And what that means is if you pass away, the government looks at your assets. They look at the assets that are in your name, not just money in the bank, okay? They look at home equity value. They look at values of your life insurance. They look at values of your retirement accounts. And when they pool all of those things together, if the value comes up over $1 million, then you can be subject to the estate tax here in Massachusetts. The estate tax is paid out of your estate. It's deducted from the money that your beneficiaries were ultimately going to receive. In Massachusetts, when we've got a married couple, in many cases, if the first person in that married couple passes away, they leave everything to their spouse. Well, now what often happens is we've taken assets that were in the names of two people. One person passes away, we move the assets into the surviving spouse. Now the surviving spouse has everything, and when that spouse passes away, because that spouse owned all of the assets, the home equity, the life insurance, everything, very often they go above the Massachusetts limit, and they would be subject to estate taxes. So we utilize what's called a credit shelter trust, and what that trust does is makes sure that each spouse, regardless of who passes away first, gets their maximum $1 million tax deduction against their estate taxes, any estate taxes that they would pay. And it makes sure that a married couple can actually pass away with up to $2 million in assets and not pay any tax whatsoever. Without planning, someone that passes away with $2 million or more, again, including life insurance benefits, can pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in estate taxes. And it's something that not everybody knows about, so they don't plan on it. They don't plan for it. Setting up one of these trusts can reduce $100,000 in taxes down to zero if it's done right. The fourth type of trust is called a life insurance trust, and it's similar in some ways to the credit shelter trust. The concept is to help minimize estate taxes. So for example, I'm married, I have 2 kids. Because I'm the primary earner in my family, if I pass away, I've got a life insurance policy in place to make sure that my wife and my kids are taken care of. But that policy is $1 million. Because Massachusetts has $1 million estate tax limit, just by virtue of that policy alone, I'm already over the limit before we even look at bank accounts, retirement accounts, home equity value. I am already over the limit just because of the life insurance that I have. And so one of the ways that we can try to carve out that life insurance amount from your taxable estate is by using one of these life insurance trusts. There are a few hoops that you have to jump through in creating these things, but if it's done right, You can funnel those life insurance proceeds through one of these trusts. They still go directly to your beneficiaries, but they are excluded from your taxable estate. So in my case, we've actually excluded $1 million from that life insurance policy and pulled it out of my taxable estate right off the bat. So hundreds of thousands of dollars in estate taxes saved just by doing one of these trusts. The last type of trust that I want to mention is called a Medicaid trust. We refer to them commonly as a Medicaid trust. Sometimes they're called income-only trusts. Sometimes they're called irrevocable income-only trusts. But they're created for a very specific purpose, and that is to protect assets from Medicaid and long-term care liens. Lots of people ask me, it's probably the most common question that I get asked, especially by my elder law clients, is if I have to go into a nursing home, is there any way to protect my house? My home is my biggest asset. Can I do anything to protect it so that the nursing home doesn't get it or Medicaid doesn't get it? And the answer is yes. You can protect your home by using one of these Medicaid trusts. The Medicaid trust is a very, very technical document. It's got to be written specifically for the purpose of protection of the home or other assets from Medicaid and long-term care. There are very specific rules that have to be complied with when you're writing these things, so they have to be done right. Make sure if you are intending on having one of these Medicaid trusts drafted, that it's done by an expert, that it's done by someone that specializes in the field, because I've seen these things go very, very wrong if they're not done correctly. But if they are done correctly, you can protect your home and other assets from Medicaid and nursing home liens. Now, there is a process to it. At my office, we make the process very easy. We do all of the legwork. We make sure that it's very simple for you. But again, regardless of who you hire to do that for you, you have to make sure that you're dealing with a specialist, that you're dealing with someone that practices in the field of estate planning and elder law every day. So you're looking for somebody that might have published works, published books or reports on the subject. And if you're checking out their website, you're looking to see that they specialize in the field. If you're talking to a lawyer that also does divorce and evictions and car accidents and medical malpractice, typically that's not the person that you want drafting a Medicaid trust for you. You want to have that trust drafted by someone that specializes in the field. We've got lots of free information on our website for download, specifically about Medicaid trusts and how they can help you keep assets out of probate, keep assets out of your taxable estate, and keep assets free of Medicaid and long-term care liens. Very, very important, but if you do it right, you can save hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity that can be passed on to future generations if you were to pass away, rather than losing it all to nursing home care and long-term care. The best way to find out information about these trusts and how to set one up is to reach out to my office. We can be reached by phone, 978-657-7437. But before that, I encourage you to take a look at our website. We've got lots of information there. You can go to wilmingtonestateplan.com. There's lots of information there that gives further details about trusts, different types of trusts, and what they can be used for. There's lots of info there that can be downloaded for free, no obligation. It's going to teach you about whether or not one of these trusts is right for you. The last thing I'll mention is that you want to be careful if you have one of these trusts already to make sure that it's updated and to make sure it does what you think it does. I hear very, very frequently clients tell me, I'm all set, my house is already in a trust. And I'll say to them, why don't you let me take a look at the trust just so I can review it for you. And more often than not, I find out that these trusts, yes, their home might be in the trust, but if their goal is protection from long-term care liens, very often I review these trusts and find that they don't provide that type of protection at all. That they were created by non-specialists, that they were created simply as a way to avoid probate, but don't include the Medicaid protection in there that the clients often think is there. And the huge downside to that is sometimes I talk to clients whose homes have been in these trusts for years. And when I tell them that we have to start all over again, what we lose there is the years that were already credited by having property in that trust already. That's because when applying for long-term care in Massachusetts, they can look back 5 years at all of your transactions, including transferring property into a trust. So the property has to be in trust for 5 years in order to be fully protected. Sometimes 3 years in, I'm seeing these trusts and having to tell clients that they need to start all over again because the trust was done in the wrong fashion, or it wasn't the right type of trust for what their goals were, and we have to start all over, and we lose those 3 years that they had already put in that would have been credited against the Massachusetts 5-year look back. So if you have a trust already and your home or other assets are in that trust, I encourage you to pull that trust out and look at it. On our website, we have some information about red flags, things that might tip you off that something is awry with that trust and maybe isn't going to provide you with the protection that you think. So I encourage you to go to the website and check that out. You can go to wilmingtonestateplan.com. There you can request a copy of either or both of my free books. So I do encourage you to do that. If you have other questions about trust and are looking for a more detailed analysis, you can do that through one of our strategic planning sessions. You can go to our website and actually book a strategic planning session online, or you can call the office and we can set that up. During COVID-19, we are doing all of those meetings by Zoom or by telephone, but we are still fully capable of having those meetings, and we will do a more detailed analysis of your particular situation so that we can tell you what trusts, if any, are going to be appropriate for your situation. So thank you for tuning in. Again, if you have questions about trust, please reach out to us. Thank you.